Jordan Clarkson stymies Kawhi Leonard on the final possession after hitting the big three, and a night in which every Jazz player shined at one point or another. They hold off the Clippers 120-118. We're talking about it next on Postcast.
You are Locked On Jazz, your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
David Locke along with Ron Boone with you here on Postcast. The Utah Jazz pull off a fabulous win over the LA Clippers. They led it early, led by 3 at the end of 1. They grabbed a 8-point lead at the half, or I probably should get that exactly right. They grabbed a 9-point lead at the half. It was down to 6. The Clippers took their first lead of the game in the fourth, and the Jazz held it off. 3 mammoth plays late in this ball game. Lauri Markkanen, multiple tip-in, finally gets it to go on a basket where it just seemed like it wasn't going to go in. Then, finally, Jordan Clarkson on the right wing, kind of under duress, as only Jordan Clarkson can, hits a 3 that rattled home. And finally, on the back end, Kawhi Leonard, down by Kelly. Well. I mean, everyone had their moment. These final 3 plays. Finally, Kawhi Leonard driving at Jordan Clarkson, stops, gets reset, gets denied again, and gets the shot, basically offensive rebounds out to Westbrook, who comes up short at the horn. And the Jazz win it 120-118 in front of a sold-out house. What's your reaction, Ron?
My reaction, I love the basketball game, first of all. And if you listen and paid attention to what some of the things that Coach Will talked about, with spacing and the style of play that they wanted to use, you can just see that they're making progress. That's for sure. I love that first quarter. And I love it because of the way Tucker played in that first quarter. I hope we see a little bit more of that. But the big shots that were made in this ball game, as you mentioned, was made by multiple people. And just had to be impressed with going forward, what we saw.
All right, let's go. There's a bunch of parts to talk about. Let's start in that first quarter, because really the Jazz lost that game the other night in the first 3 minutes. And tonight the Jazz led 7-2 early. Talen Horton-Tucker played as good a basketball as I think we've ever seen him play. He might have had that bigger scoring game and some things. And frankly, the final 20 games of an NBA season can be really funky. I mean, this was against everybody. This was a real one right tonight. What did you see, and what was it you liked so much out of Talen early?
Well, he was pass first of all. They pushed the ball up the floor, and everyone ran with him. That's what I was impressed with there as well. Sometimes, he comes off the glass, and he's 1-on-3 or something like that, and he shoots a low percentage shot. But everyone ran with him tonight and in that first quarter, and he ended up coming up with 6 assists in that first quarter. He distributed the basketball. I don't think he had a turnover. So it was a very impressive first quarter. They really got the Jazz rolling. The Jazz ended up outscoring the Clippers 33-30 in that first quarter.
The other thing that happened tonight was that Lauri Markkanen got going early, and that transition got Lauri Markkanen going. We had 9 assists in that first quarter. He had 15 in the first half. There's been so much talk, including myself, about how hard it's going to be on Lauri Markkanen. What did you see, and what got Lauri going tonight?
I think when he gets set, he doesn't shoot on the catch that often, not on the catch, but off the dribble that often. He does shoot a lot on the catch. And when he gets the ball in that pocket to the point where he doesn't have to bring the ball down, doesn't have to really twist and turn and all that kind of stuff, he's deadly. And he can shoot the basketball very, very well. So getting off to a good start shooting the basketball, I think, was very important. He was 12 for 23 tonight. He made 5 3-point shots, 5 of 13.
The thing that jumped out to me tonight was the 1 or 2 plays where he just gets a shot because he's 7 feet tall.
Yeah.
Right? Like, he's not actually open. He just is able to get a shot off and really carried us a little bit. Lauri had a big-time night. He had 26, 11 of them in the third quarter by 3, and then he finished with another 9 in the fourth quarter. He had 24 second-half points tonight. That tip-in at the end, probably the loudest of the bunch. The story of the night, really, if you want the headliners, going to be the 2 plays by Jordan. But the other story of the night is Kawhi Leonard and Paul George are unbelievable. But yet the Jazz collection of guys all had moments, right? So we talked about Talen was so brilliant in the first quarter, and Lauri was brilliant along the way. Kelly Olynyk stays in this game and finishes tonight for the Jazz because, one, he hits back-to-back threes, but he's guarding Russell Westbrook, and they aren't able to take advantage of him. Everybody goes after Kelly defensively every time they can. He wasn't exploited tonight defensively, and he makes just a ton of plays.
Yeah, and the Jazz end up with 6 guys in double figures, so they kind of spread it around. Kelly Olynyk is one of those guys that you have to have on your team. because
I called he and Mike Conley last year the thread that held the fabric together.
Okay, let's do it that way. But that's the kind of player that coaches love because they can play multiple positions. They don't make a lot of mistakes, and whenever they're out there, they're productive. Regardless of how many minutes you play. And Kessler, 21 minutes tonight. He only had 2 rebounds, or with 4 rebounds. But it was Kelly Olynyk who was able to play a couple of positions tonight that really got the job done.
Talk about guys just making their moments. Chris Dunn had a pretty brutal night.
Yeah.
And then Will Hardy called on him and trusted him late, saying, hey, I need someone to guard Paul George or Kawhi Leonard, so you're going to have to be out there to close the game. And he ends up scoring 2 buckets.
Scoring 2 buckets, and Paul George did not score in that fourth quarter until late in the fourth
when
quarter.
He rose for that 3?
Yeah.
Man,
3.
they were awesome.
Yeah.
He and Kawhi were just absurdly great tonight. It's crazy how good those guys are. Running through, let's go to the Colin Sexton stretch of this ball game because Colin, I think the game changes on this. You didn't think I was fair to Bones Highland on this, but Paul George has scored 10 straight points. He is cooking. He is unguardable. Paul George throws a pass to Bones Highland on the left wing, and Paul George wants the ball back, and Bones Highland shoots a 3 and misses. And Colin Sexton takes it the other way, coast to coast, draws a foul, stops the play of the game, goes to the free throw line, everything slows down, and then Colin Sexton picks up Paul George 94 feet and forces an 8-second violation, and it ended Paul George's scoring run. He scored 3 more points the rest of the night after that. I actually think the Bones Highland 3 is actually one of the bigger plays of the game because Paul George is cooking, and we've seen it in this building. When he's going, it's not guardable. And he went and took his selfish play, but also Colin Sexton, those 2 plays changed the course of the game.
See, it's amazing because you had talked about everyone had their moments, and you just went through 3 guys now that had their moments that really made a big difference in what the Jazz did.
And I'm going to add another one on the list because the stat of the night is 6.
6 guys in double figures?
6 offensive rebounds by the LA Clippers the entire night.
And the Jazz
and one of 17. And one of those offensive rebounds was the last one by Russell Westbrook. Yeah. But here's my moment on that guy. That's John Collins. 12 rebounds tonight, 7 of them defensively. He had 11 the other night, 8 defensively. We were not a good defensive rebounding team last year. We were 23rd in the league in defensive rebounding. And we have now had 2 back-to-back really, really good defensive rebounding nights.
So looking forward and going forward here, there's some bright spots that we have to be very pleased with.
All right. We got some stars to give out. We forgot to do that the other night. Maybe there weren't any worthy in the first night. Have we forgotten anyone? Keontae played well.
Yeah. Keontae played very well.
What did you think out of Keontae in that 12?
I like his confidence. And I'm sure he's had conversations with Will, but his confidence, he wasn't reluctant to do anything tonight. Yeah.
Let me go back to one thing we talked about throughout the whole broadcast. I want to get this kind of a full wrap. So our theme of our radio broadcast tonight was all about the physicality of the Clippers. And it was really interesting because we meet with Jazz assistant coach Scott Morrison when the first thing we do when we walk in the building, he gives us a scouting report, and we have to hold it until right before game time. And then we go to Will Hardy, and Scott Morrison said to us, their whole thing is pushing you off the spot and then making you catch 3 steps off your spot and then pushing you another 3 steps and another 3 steps. And you've got to hold your ground at some point to get yourself. And then Will Hardy went and talked about it. And then we asked Ty Lue what the key to their defense was. And he was like, we got to push them off their spots and be physical to hit them first before they screen us, do the whole thing. And the Jazz the Jazz really dealt with that very, very well. How did they deal with that tonight?
Well, you can just see they fought back. And what's going to happen, hopefully that carries over into the next ball game. Got a ball game tomorrow night.
Yep.
So hopefully that carries over into to tomorrow night, and because now they can see how effective something like that can be. And, you just play basketball.
What did they learn about themselves tonight, do you think?
Boy, if I had to say one thing that they can play, they got the feeling that they can play with some of the better teams in the NBA.
That's a big one.
They have the confidence that, just because of their rating or the type of players that supposedly have on a team. You mentioned how many all-star games that Kawhi and Paul George, Russell Westbrook, all of them, all-star appearances and all that kind of stuff. And here we are with the Jazz. So we have one guy in an all-star game, Lauri. Yeah. So you can play with them.
Pretty darn good. All right. Last year we gave out 3 stars for every game, right? Isn't that what we did?
No, we gave up 2.
2 stars.
Yeah.
Who are your 2 stars tonight, Ron Boone? Can we just both agree Lauri deserves a star?
Lauri, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Lauri's
30,
the star.
35 points, 12 rebounds, 3 assists. Gets you a star.
So if you wanted to give the star,
Now
probably the one the ball game, you have to go with Clarkson.
So do you go to so I thought the choice is Jordan to close or Talon start. That would be my 2 choices tonight.
I'm gonna have to go with Jordan to close.
I think the 3 and the shutting down Kawhi in the final possession is pretty great. All right, that is Postcast. We're going to be back with you tomorrow from Phoenix. Mini plans are available. Jazz Plus is available. Go get it all. Thanks very much for tuning in to tonight's broadcast and being a part of Locked On Jazz and the Postcast with Ron Boone.